Okay, welcome back to another video. So today I'm just going to show you now what we feed our cows and our weanling bulls. Obviously there's a bit of silage that has to go in, but while the floor is fairly clean, and there's no silage or much silage in the way, I can now give them their meal and explain what meal I'm giving to them and why we're giving it to them. So first of all, this is what we give the cows that have the calves. This is dairy nuts. We're just giving them because the calves are getting bigger and older, so they're probably more severe on the cow's milk, and the cow probably isn't producing much of it now, or much of it as quickly, because the calves now demand that little bit extra because they're getting bigger and older. So just to progress the milk on the cows, we'll give them a full bucket of dairy nuts, and we just throw it on the ground. I better to fill the bucket and give it to them, and it'll stop them looing, and I'll explain then when I give it to them. And we give the weanling bulls there this sort of stuff. It's crunch mixed with actual meal itself, as you can see. So that's what we give the weanling bulls there. The heifers, we don't give them anything at the moment, but we give the cows their dairy nuts to help them progress on with the milk and stuff, and we just give the weanling bulls some crunch here, just to feed them on a bit. That's how much we give the weanling bulls, because there's only about 5 of them in the pen, so they don't technically need a full bucket like we give the cows. So I'll go and put the camera down. And I'll give them their crunch. Now, so they have their crunch, the cows have their dairy nuts. So also I do have to sweep any bits that are scattered out back into them, so I probably should do that now soon. But first I'll explain quickly why we're giving these the dairy nuts and the weanling bulls crunch. I've already explained this, but we're giving the cows dairy nuts because the calves are getting bigger, so they might require more milk, and the cows probably mightn't be producing the required amount of milk that the calves need now, since they're getting older and bigger. So to help them on, we just give them a bit of dairy nuts, and that'll help progress the yield of milk that they're producing. And the reason we give the weanling bulls crunch is just to basically build them up a bit, because we do plan on either clamming these and keeping them and putting them along then with the weanling heifers and putting them out on grass, and then come maybe autumn or winter time we'll probably sell them again, or we'll probably sell them as bulls, or we might we'll have to cut them because they're getting a bit big for clamming, but you know what I mean. We'll either cut all of them or cut a few and then sell whatever ones we don't cut in the mart. So that's just to build them up, beef them up. As you can see, they're fairly well built already, but there's a few smaller ones there that I've been left behind compared to the white one here and this brownie one here. So it just helps the smaller ones progress on as well, and try and catch up with the bigger ones. But as you can see, the bigger ones do have a bit of condition on them, so that's the reason why we're giving them that, just to build up their bodies, build up some condition, and hopefully they'll sell better then in the mart. We don't give these anything because, well, they don't need dairy nuts because they have no calves, so they don't have any milk. So we're not giving them anything at all. And we're not giving these crunch. I don't know why. It's the owl man told me to give them dairy nuts and them the crunch, but give them nothing. I don't know the reason behind it, but they're not getting anything for now. That might change. They might get a bucket of crunch further down the lane, but for now they're not getting anything. Anyways, they're scooping that up fairly quickly, but there's some meal scattered out, so I'll get the brush and I'll sweep it into them and they can clean up the floor then. Okay, so I have that sweeped in, as you can see. They're fairly scooping them up. Now I also have to do the same with the crunch as well, because obviously it's being scattered further out of their reach. So obviously there's a bit there that needs to be swept in. The rest seems to be okay for now, but I'll stand by with the brush. I'll brush that one in, and then I'll stand by with the brush and sweep any bit that needs to be scattered out back into their reach. So I'll put the camera down again, I'll get the brush, and I'll do a bit more sweeping. So I swept a bit more into them. They're sweeping that up themselves now. The cows basically have it more or less ate, as you can see. They don't be long scooping up the meal when they get it. Now, how many times a day do we give the cows their dairy nuts, and do we give the bulls their crunch? And the answer to that is basically every morning. And again, similar with the calves, if you watched my last video, if we miss them in the morning, we'll obviously give it to them in the evening. It really depends on the floor is clean. So if a bale has to be put in the morning time and the floor is clean, we'll give them their meal or their crunch then. But if there's already a bale in the way in the morning time, it'll be fairly lowered or gone by the time evening comes around, and then we'll give them their meal and calf crunch in the evening. So basically, whenever there's no silage bale on the floor in front of them and there's room to give them their meal or crunch, that's when we give it to them. So as of today, as I'm recording this video, it's morning time, so I have to wait until they all eat their crunch and meal and all that, and then I'll back in a bale, and then maybe come tomorrow, it'll probably be tomorrow morning as well. But it's either in the morning time or in the evening time, whenever the floor is clear of silage and there's no bits of, you know, silage then planted around the place. Because when we back in a bale, we back it in here, we split it in half, and then we split it into quarters, and then each bay get their own sort of that quarter of that silage bale. So obviously you'll have a quarter of a silage bale here, you'll have a quarter of a silage bale there, you'll have a quarter of a silage bale here, and you'll have a quarter of a silage bale here. And then we just get the grape, and either we grape the silage then from each side of that quarter, and just, you know, just feed them that way. I have videos up on the YouTube channel of me putting in a bale and feeding it to them, so that basically what I'm talking about now is already on the YouTube channel. So if you don't know what I mean, you can go back and watch it there. But yeah, the cows have their mealette. These almost do. They're getting there. So I guess by the time I get the plastic off the bale, get the tractor started, and get the bale actually put into the shed here, they'll probably have all that ate. So I'm going to put the camera away and I'm going to start putting in a bale. The calves also have their calf crunch. If I step closer, they'll probably run away, but as you can see in the troughs, you can see that trough has calf crunch, that trough has calf crunch, and the one hanging on the gate has calf crunch. So if you've seen my other video of basically I have a whole full video of just feeding the calves calf crunch and all that. So if you haven't watched that video, I recommend go and watching it. I think it's just about the new system we have. We're letting them out here to feed rather than keeping them curtailed in their own little creep. And another sort of upgrade to the system is that we put this bar across here, because sometimes the smaller ones would step into the water trough here and even walk through the gap and in with the bulls. So we put that bar across there to stop them from going in there, because then we'd have to go in, try and hunt them out between the, how many is there? 5 bulls in there, which isn't an easy task. So we put that bar across, and that stops any of the calves from going into the pen with the bulls. So the cows got their dairy nuts, the bulls got their crunch, and the calves got their calf crunch. So I'll put the camera away now, and I'll take the plastic off the bale, and we'll shove it in and split it and divide it under their heads. Okay, so I have the silage put in, and I have a bit of silage forked either side of them. So you can see that that's a quarter of a bale forked each side of them. That's a quarter of a bale forked each side of them. That's a quarter of a bale forked each side of them. And that's a quarter of a bale forked each side of them. And as you can see now, the calves can stick their heads out of the barriers and get the silage from the passageway here, rather than getting the silage the old sort of system way, which, if you don't know what I'm on about, I explained that in my last video about feeding the calves and all that. The new system for feeding the calves, all that is explained in that video. But long story short, we had an old sort of mesh trough hanging on that red gate there, and we used to put a barrel full of silage in that for them, and they could eat the silage in their little creep area. But all that has changed now. We took that down because we reshuffled the whole shed. We moved a lot of cattle around, but now they can get their silage from sticking their heads out of the barrier there. So they got all their meal they wanted, they got their crunch they wanted, and now they have their silage, so they're all fed and happy out. And we have silage put into the barrels for the 2 cows that have the newborn calves, so they're all fed and happy as well. The calves still have a bit of calf crunch left to eat, so what I might do is I'll leave them there. When I finish the video, I'll go up and fill my stomach as well, and then when I come back down, I'll check on their calf crunch, and if they don't have much of it eaten, I might as well just put them back into their little creep, and I can let them out again in the evening to have a bit more. And you may or may not have seen a block hanging there for the cows that have the calves, and a block hanging there for the cows that weren't in calf. They're basically a mineral lick. It's that right there, calciphos 9P plus or whatever it's called. But we have it hanging up on little red yokes there. It's basically bolted into the wall, and then we just hang that up sort of high so they cannot scratch their heads on it. So they kind of have to lift their head up and stretch to get up. Because when we have these a couple of years now. We have these about 2 to 3, possibly even 4 years now. So they have to lift their head sort of up and lick it. So they kind of have to stretch. It's not down low in front of them where they can get it easily. They kind of have to work for it. But it's also put up high so that they don't scratch their head on either the block or the frame that's holding the mineral lick block up. And then obviously it won't break or anything. So that lick block contains 7 to 8% of crude ash, 14.5% calcium, 12% sodium, 9% phosphorus, and 2.5% of magnesium. And there it is in action at work. You can see that the cow kind of has to lift her head up sort of high and stretch to get it, so she cannot technically scratch it or anything and break it. But it's basically just a mineral lick for the cows. There it is at work again. So anyways, yeah, so the cows with the calves have a mineral lick in a block form hanging on the wall. And the cows, the 4 cows, well, the 2 cows and the 2 heifers that weren't in calf or we didn't bull, also have a mineral block lick as well hanging on the wall. So we feed our weanling bulls about 3/4 full of a bucket worth of crunch. So we give them 3/4 full of a bucket of crunch, basically to beef them up and build up their sort of body condition score. The cows get a full bucket of dairy nuts just to help them progress and build up more milk in their udders, because the calves are obviously getting bigger, so they'll be more severe on the milk. They'll be demanding more milk and all this, and the cows themselves mightn't be able to produce as much milk as the calf wants or as quickly. They mightn't be able to produce the milk as quickly either, so we just help them along and give them a bucket of dairy nuts. And they also have their lick there as well, a mineral lick. They don't get anything. They don't get any meal or nothing, but they have their lick on the wall. And the heifers here, the weanling heifers, don't get any meal either. They just get a bit of silage in the morning and in the evening. And the calves, here they are, get their calf crunch every morning or every evening. And I almost forgot to point out, you might be wondering in the comments section why we don't have a trough to put the meal in. Well, there's 6 cows here, and they basically stretch that whole pen there. But we have no trough big enough to hold meal in for the 6 cows. You could put nearly 2 big troughs in, But then that's a lot of work, and we don't have two big troughs put side by side to fit all the cows in and put the male in the trough. So we throw it on the floor for them. But we do have a trough for the bulls, but it's just a lot of effort to carry it in and then carry it out again. We used to do it in the past, actually a couple of months ago. We used to give them male and the heifers male, and then we ran out of male, and then we just didn't have the time. We couldn't find the time to run back and get more male put into the male bins. So if the male sort of put a halt to feeding the male to the bulls and the heifers. But we're back now with the male, but we're only giving it to the bulls this time. But that is the reason why we don't have any trough big enough, or we don't have two big troughs put side by side to fit the male in, and that the 6 cows here can get their male. We do have a trough big enough to put there in front of them, but it's just a lot of work carrying it in and out. So we didn't bother with the trough this time, but as you seen earlier in the video, that they can easily take it up off the floor, and a nod sweeping when they scatter it out away from them. That's all it consists of. It's not that really hard work. So they're all right. They're eating it off the ground. They're happy to eat it off the ground, and we're happy to give them it on the ground. But that will be the end of today's video. If you liked it, please do give me a like, and if you're watching this and you're not subscribed, why not hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell notification icon to be notified of every future video I upload. Don't forget to check out my merch on my online store. The link to that will be in the description. And also the mate gate. I done a video on that. I Do Agri produced them. So if you use my affiliate link that's in the description of this video, I get a percentage of the profits. And obviously I Do Agri himself gets a good percentage of that. So if you use my affiliate link, it helps me out and it helps I Do Agri out. So if you are looking to get a mate gate, please use my affiliate link in the description of this video, and don't forget to check out my merch on my online store. And I will see you in my next video very soon. Take care.